This is Lesson 10, Inequalities, Translating Words to Math. The previous two lessons we spent on expressions and equations, and we briefly touched on inequalities in our different relationship phrases. So today we're going to focus on that. So phrases that mean less than are pretty straightforward, and recall we must have this word is in front of less than, otherwise that could mean that we're subtracting. So we could also say is fewer than. For the greater than symbol, is greater than or is more than, so we have to use is in front of both of those. So these symbols now, there are several phrases that we haven't talked about, and this is referred to as the less than or equal to, and if we see the word is, that's going to mean this symbol. But as previously mentioned, there's also a couple other phrases. So one of the things we could say is at most, or at most. For instance, if I had some number, unknown number, is at most 10, it means that it could be 10, but it could not go over 10. So I could not say that 11 is less than 10. It would be more than 10, and at most means it maxes out at 10. Sometimes they say this a little bit differently. They'd say is no or not more than. And the other word they might use is the maximum. The maximum it can be is 10, meaning that 10 is as high as it can go. The hard part about those is those words, when I hear them, if I hear the word at most, I'm thinking more than. Same with maximum, I'm thinking more than. But we have to realize that whatever the unknown number is cannot exceed the other number, in this case, examples 10. So let's look at the other symbol. Is greater than or equal to. Again, if I have is, it's implying this symbol. And we could say is at least. So that's another phrase for that, is at least. And we could also say is no or not less than, or minimum. So once again, if we use this example, x and 10, if I look at this number has to be at least 10. It could be 11, it could be greater than 11, so if it's at, this number is at least. This number also, it says, is no less than, so it cannot be less than 10. It can be 10, but not less than. And then finally, a minimum. It's a minimum of 10. So all of these imply the equal. It could indeed equal that number, but in this case, it could exceed that number. So these, again, the phrases, when I hear least or less than, minimum, my brain is thinking that this number should be smaller, but that is indeed the opposite. So let's see what we can do with this. Let's remind ourselves the word is before the phrases less than or more than implies a comparison between two quantities. And when we see this, we need an inequality. So if I look at this phrase again, we have 6, and we do have our magic is less than a number. So I'm going to write that as 6, the symbol less than, and a number. We've said that we're just going to use x when they say a number. The next phrase says 12 is more than a number. So if I look at this, 12 is more than a number. So when we look at these very similar statements, it says the phrase less than without the word is means that we're subtracting. So if you see that, we're going to say this is subtraction. And the phrase more than without is in front of it means addition. And furthermore, we have to switch the order in which the information is given. We call that the than switch. If you recall, we talked about that a while ago, our last 2 lessons ago. We have the than switch. It switches order. So let's try our hand at this. It says 6 less than a number. These two phrases are very similar. That tiny word is changes the meaning to an inequality sign. For our example here, it's written as 6 less than, that means the subtraction sign or subtracting, and a number. But because we have than, we have to switch the order. So we're going to take x minus 6. So if I said again, 6 less than your age, you would actually start with your age and subtract 6. So that's what happens with the than word. The next example says 12 more than a number. Our first example was 12 is more than a number, and that is word meant we have an inequality. Here, what it means is we have the plus sign. So this is how we're given 12 more than a number. However, once again, we have this word than, which means we have to switch the order. So we should write it as x plus 12. All right, that was the lesson for today, and tomorrow I'm going to ask you to do the practice set that matches this lesson. Hopefully you have these notes to help you. Take care and have a great day.